Hi, my name is Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the February trade figures which have finally been released, hidden behind the attention, focusing on the passing of Prince Philip, no doubt. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So yes, trade figures for February are out now, and the immediate reaction is that, well, from those who wish to ignore Brexit, our exports were up with the EU compared to January, but down compared to where it would have been in previous years, but also that trade with the rest of the world was down. Those who wish to hide the damage of our government's failures will cheer the fact that we have experienced growth. So if you read in some media reports, oh, we've got growth, isn't that brilliant? But that's just compared to the previous month. Our economy grew by 0.4%, which is 0% rounded off, compared with the apocalyptic January, which was hit from all sides by Brexit, the pandemic, and a lack of support for businesses from both by Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak. But as to Brexit specifically, and the government lied again, of course, they said that January was bad because of teething problems, people getting used to the paperwork, the pandemic and stockpiling in December, those are the things that led to January. Now, it's absolutely true that all of those things had an impact in January. There was an epic level of stockpiling in December, which absolutely caused a huge impact on both exports and imports in January. But you ask the government, so what's the reason for that then? Why were they doing all that stockpile in December, do you think, Mr. Johnson? Government don't seem to want to talk about that, and people are asking them. It's because everyone knew how much of a mess Brexit was going to be and wanted to take advantage of being in the single market for as long as possible. But absolutely, that certainly contributed to January in a major way that was always going to make February look a little better. And 0.4%, you don't get much more little better than that, due to the fact that trade would have to increase as those stockpiles ran low. Also, the suppression caused by the pandemic is real and will absolutely help the government as 2021 marches grimly on. Because as they compare future months' trade figures, not with historical averages or over the last few years, but specifically with last year, it won't look as bad. Look bad in January, look bad in February, look bad in March as well, but after that, it'll not look so bad. And this is exactly how it will go. No sooner had the figures been published, I noticed a comment on the channel. Might have been more than them. I saw one. Are you going to talk about how trade with the EU is up then, Phil? Trade with the EU is not up, it's down. Like if I have a job that pays £3,000 a month, and then I lose that and I take another which pays £2,000 a month, my income is down. If in the second month I get £2,500, my income is still down on what it was. Because of this, it may take some years until the pandemic is under control in Europe, not just the UK, before these arguments stop holding any water. For anyone to be able to claim that we are back to where we were before Brexit, which is what the government were doing, we need to look at two things. One, what is our post-Brexit GDP per capita compared with before Brexit? Right now, not very good. And it won't look good for some time either. And two, secondly, because there's going to come a point where the currency is devaluing. I don't mean devaluing compared to other currencies, just all currencies are going to be worth less. If you're looking at like how much is needed to buy a loaf of bread type thing, they're all going to be worth less at some point. So the amount of money as a figure you make is going to look a lot better over time. It always does. So when you get to that point, then secondly, you need to say, okay, but have we really gained? How does our GDP per capita stack up compared to nations where we were comparable before Brexit? We might, for example, compare ourselves with France in a couple of years. We've both been hit hard by other factors such as the pandemic and have a very similar sized economy. Or it has done recently since the Brexit referendum. We used to have a significantly larger GDP per capita than France. Not anymore, it's only a little bit more. But although February's export figures to the EU were up compared to January, they were still 12% down compared to February last year. But the government said it was back to normal in February. They said January, yeah, okay, yeah, there was problems then, just teething problems. In February, they're saying, but it's back to normal now. It's back to normal now. Well, we've got the February figures now. It's not back to normal. So now I expect the government to say, yeah, but it was improving and now it's back to normal. It isn't. It never will be. How can it ever get back to normal when it takes longer to get goods across the border? That means we literally cannot get as much across if we tried. And our goods are more expensive now as well. How are we going to get trade back to normal? Absolute nonsense. But an interesting figure was also for the rest of the world. The government keep trying to push the idea, yes, trade with the EU is down, but our trade outside the EU has gone up. Well, not according to these figures. Even compared to January, our exports were down to non-EU countries in February. 11% down compared to January, 9% compared to last February, which is a better measure, which means that our overall figures for the first 2 months of 2021 are 7% down for non-EU countries. So since Brexit, 27% down for the EU, 7% down for non-EU countries. But our imports were up. And this is what is tragically hilarious about the whole thing. See, Brexit is a problem for EU countries as well. They sell quite a lot of goods to us, and so their businesses are suffering with Brexit. However, the EU can say that the situation is improving for them without lying, because our import figures showed an increase of 7% from the EU in February compared to January, albeit 12% lower than the same point last year. Like I say, Brexit is a wind that blows nobody any good. Well, apart from maybe French ports and EU financial centres, but the hit has been much harder to us than them, which means that the balance of trade, Brexiteers kept banging on about this balance of trade, but we buy more from them than they buy from us. Well, in goods, yeah, that's true. They kept forgetting about services, just like our Brexit deal. That is now even worse. That balance of trade they said was so bad is now worse because the proportion of goods that we're buying from them has not gone down anything like the proportion of goods they're buying from us. The bottom line is that EU imports have fared a lot better than our exports to them. And bear in mind that importing is us buying from them, that's us giving the EU money, and exporting is us selling, taking the EU's money. We're still buying a lot, but we're not selling anywhere near enough. And we're not compensating for that with trade outside the EU. How could we? We don't have the trade deals to manage that, even if we ignored the extra transport time and costs. So then we return to the question as to why the EU is doing better out of Brexit than we are. That's not because they're bigger and better organised. We're not talking about trade in general here. We're talking specifically about figures for trade with the UK. The reason is essentially because the EU spent several years preparing for Brexit. They had their system set up, and so our goods face checks when they are exported to EU countries. However, we wasted those years and so don't have those systems ready. The result of this is that we aren't carrying out checks on EU imports because we haven't got the staff and the systems to do it, which means it's a lot easier and cheaper to export to us than it is for us to export to them. If we were applying those checks, then EU trade with us would have been hit as badly as ours with them. But we're not doing, and nor are we likely to for some considerable time. So the damage to EU businesses, which is real, is proportionally way less than the damage to British businesses. And it's easier for those EU businesses to find customers elsewhere due to their membership of the single market and the network of comprehensive trade agreements around the world that British businesses are sadly lacking in. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.